Alors, bonsoir tout le monde.
Good evening,
Bienvenue
everyone. Welcome to this meeting of the Standing Committee on Strategies and Public Policies. So I would like to begin by saying that the City of Dieppe recognizes that the land on which it operates is part of the unceded traditional ancestral lands of the Mi'kmaq. The peace and friendship treaties that the Mi'kmaq jointly developed and signed with the British Crown in the 18th century applied to this territory. The treaties did not deal with the surrender of land or resources, but in fact recognized Mi'kmaq title and set out rules for what was to be a lasting relationship between the parties. So, so at the Standing Committee, we're not really here to make decisions. We're here to listen to presentations of different types, either from staff. Sometimes they come and present projects for discussion purposes, or we have other presentations on behalf or from the public or organizations that we share interests with. So we're going to start with the first presentation. The Hospice Southeast New Brunswick, Ms. Leblanc is here to talk to us about the. All right, thank you for your warm welcome. And we just wanted to provide an up-to-date of a project that we've been working on for a number of years. And we also wanted to talk about the community, which is very important to us. So I want to give you a bit of context. My name is Francis Leblanc. We spend a lot of time as a community planning marriages, studies, and things like that. But what we don't plan often is end of life. And so that's what we want to help people do. We want to help them to consider end of life issues because we see the results when that is not done. And we want to start the conversation. So who we are as an organization, we are a nonprofit organization created in 2004 by volunteers to raise awareness of life-limiting conditions. We have community programming. We do home visits. We have a lot of support groups for bereavement. We have training for volunteers. And one of our long-term dreams is to have a center here, a hospice here in southeastern New Brunswick. And happily, fortunately, that came about and we opened our doors in July 21st. So what is palliative care? It's specialized care for people with an end of life diagnosis. And so we focus on quality of life and the comfort of the individual and not necessarily treating the condition as such. So we welcome residents, not just the residents, but also the families, which is different from what other organizations do. And we deal with people of all ages and in all conditions. So we provide care at home through the extra mural program, at hospitals, residential hospices, and other things such as long-term care centers and so forth. And as I said, the priority is really it was really comfort. So we launched a funding campaign that was quite ambitious, and the city of Dieppe contributed to that, and we're very thankful for that. And all the municipalities in the southeastern region contributed, and we were able to create the first hospice in 2021, and we've welcomed more than 220 people, and we hope that we can welcome many more in the coming years. So how do we distinguish ourselves from other? So people who are from the region, we are in a very residential area. It's very calm. And we're integrated with extramural. So the idea is to come from home to our house. So, and if you come to visit and you haven't had the opportunity to do so, I really invite you to do so. It's It's a very comfortable center. There are personal touches like you have at home, and we even invite people to bring in their pets, their furniture if they want. So we really try to personalize the space for them. So we serve Albert, Kent, and Westmoreland counties. So we have quite a large region, and I think we do a really good job with Westmoreland. And now we have to make an effort to make sure that there's an equitable region or equitable access throughout the other two regions. So it probably wasn't the best idea to open during the pandemic, but that's what the timing was. But we're working to make sure that there's equal access. So we have 10 beds for residents. We also have 4 family rooms. So for families that are maybe coming from further away or coming from different cities or regions, they can stay here for free. And it's a bit like a hotel. There are private washrooms. There's lots of family space that they can share, kitchen, and so forth. And one of the biggest differences is the meals. We have 2 cooks that do home style meals, and we learn, and we also copy family recipes as well. That's part of the service personalized approach. So I think I might have broken the clicker enough, but all right. So that was just a photo. So there are admission criteria like anywhere else. Most of our people, and there are a few exceptions, people who are very mobile or very agitated, we don't have security and we have a limited staff. So there are limits to what all the types of people that we can take. People that need regular care as well, or that need to travel back and forth to hospitals, or complex conditions we can't deal with. But most of the people we can take. We Teamwork is an important value for us. So whether it's our clinical team, cleaning staff, or our cooking staff, everybody works together as a team, and we really get to know people, and that includes our volunteers. We have over 150 volunteers working for organizations and a number of people from Dieppe, of course. We do in-home visits. We also do greeting. The volunteers also do in our hospice shop, which is an organization that helps us raise funds. And there's a picture of that. And we're on Kalisha Road currently, but we're currently looking for another location. And Dieppe is a possibility. We're talking with someone to set that center up. And then we have the 50-50 lottery, which is another way that we rend or that we raise funds. So what I really want to talk to you about though tonight is our community services, and that's really at the heart of what we do. We do home visits, we do volunteer training, we offer a lot of support groups as well for bereavement, and we do drop-ins as well, day drop-ins. So people who aren't necessarily in crisis but need a little bit more support, they can come and see us either in Moncton or Shediac Cape. We have cafes as well, a lot of public education sessions. I was talking to Mr. Blanc about that. We did a presentation at the Dieppe Library, and we'll be doing more in the fall as part of the Seniors Week. It's really important to continue these conversations. And we received funding as well for a program called NavCare. So it's volunteers who become navigators for the services for people who have chronic conditions or who have limited life expectancy. So that's a first in New Brunswick, and we're very excited to have received funding to to launch that program by the end of the year. So this is my contact information if you have any questions, but I would also be happy to answer any of your questions today. Great. Thank you for your presentation. Any questions from councillors? Councillor Godet. Thank you, Your Worship. Well, just a comment. I went to visit a person who was at your center, and it was very good. It's not like a hospital. You're at home. It's like you have your own furniture, and you get if you want something to eat, you can get it. And Is it almost always full? Well, it depends. It depends on, what the nature of the care of the person. So we have a capacity of 10 beds, uh, and we try to have an occupancy rate of 80 to 90%, but it depends on what's happening. We're also integrated with extramural. So we work with extramural to admit people, and so there are limits. Um, but so there has to be coordination between the two organizations. Now, are there any future plans to build another house as well? Well, maybe another, not an Albert house, but maybe an alternate site. So we're looking at the possibility of having a network of residential centers throughout the region. So there's a model in Miramichi where they are in a long-term care. There's a wing of the long-term care center. So instead of developing a new or building a new building, which is a possibility, there are other alternative options that we're looking at. All right. Well, I just wanted to say that it's great. It was wonderful. Thank you. Any further questions? I don't see any other questions. So thank you for the presentation. Now, I know that there have already been a number of discussions with the city of Dieppe, and we will continue to work toward progress. Yeah, and I invite all the councillors to come and see the center. All right. Second group. We'll be getting a presentation from Université de Moncton on the evolution campaign. And we have the privilege of having the president here, Denis Prudhomme, a citizen of the city of Dieppe. So it's very great to receive you in your it's your city hall. All right. I'm very pleased to be here and to give you this update on on the University of Moncton. So what's new is the launch of our new strategy, which is called Cap sur l'avenir, or Looking to the Future. Now, as you know, the University of Moncton was created in 1963, so we're celebrating our 60th anniversary this year. And we do a lot of research and teaching, and we also contribute to the communities where our three campuses are located. So consultations were conducted over the past year to prepare the 2023-2028 strategy, and we had over 2,600 participants, 63 partner organizations, and I also wanted to point out the participation of Mayor Lapierre, who was there at the beginning when we're coming up with ideas, and then the validation part of some of the big themes that were kept. And so over 50 meetings were held. And so where did this all lead us? It led us to develop a new vision for the University of Moncton. So through its influence, the University of Moncton wants to be the leader when it comes to societal transformation. And since I've arrived, the University of Moncton has clearly created an important role in terms of the development of the province, and especially l'Acadie and the Francophone community in each setting. There's also the financial impact of the University of Moncton. We're talking about $1.5 billion in impact. And there's also social impact and training, skilled workers training and things and so forth. Community services as well. All right, in terms of the mission, we reaffirmed in our mission that the University of Moncton is Acadian and French speaking. And we want to be dedicated to the advancement of knowledge, and beyond training we want to help. We want to set ourselves apart by developing creativity and engagement among people. And that will be implemented through teaching strategies that will be implemented during programs. All right, so what are our strategic targets? Well, increasing the attractiveness of the University of Moncton, both for graduates from high school but we also want to recruit more students from elsewhere in Canada and mostly from the maritime region. And we also want to continue developing the international student file. Our strategic files, we want to be a network university. So with our three campuses, and that also means um, sharing our expertise and seeking efficiencies. We want to be a leader as well in equity, diversion, inclusion, and decolonization. We really see that as an important debate based on what we're hearing in the province. We also want to have an eco-responsible commitment. So make decisions that are aimed at protecting the environment and reducing our ecological footprint. And it will actually be, we'll be submitting an action plan to the Council of Governors in June, and we're aiming to be zero carbon, or to reach zero carbon status by 2040. And we also want to be a collaborative, to strive for collaborative participation. So what are our key focuses? We want a living environment that's stimulating. We want to give the campus back to students and let them do organize activities. And we want to open up the campus to the community as well for various types of activities. Uh, the talent focus as well, like any business, we have recruitment challenges at all levels. So we want to recruit not only the best students, but also the best professors and best researchers, um, and the best administrative employees as well. In terms of education, I mentioned this, we want to focus on creativity and increase the volume of research that the university conducts. So right now we're working with about 40 or so organizations and businesses in development so that they can develop their operations to help them develop their efficiency in artificial intelligence, robotics. We opened a new robotics teaching facility in Chipagan, and I mean to address the labor shortage in that area as well. In terms of the communities, we want to establish a bilateral relationship with communities. So we want the campus or the expertise on our campuses. We want it to benefit various community projects as well. And we want to offer spaces up to community organizations on the campus as well by eliminating, barriers that have been often criticized in the past. And of course, we want to become more organizationally efficient as well. We want to accelerate the decision-making ability. The university calendar is more like an 18-month calendar than a regular calendar. So we want to reduce that time for the benefit of students and the communities. All right, well, the good news is that in terms of attractiveness, in the past 5 years, we've seen a 21.3% increase in students. And most of that was achieved in the last 3 years. We saw an increase in international students. There was a decrease. You see the blue line there. There was a slight decrease in terms of graduates from New Brunswick, and that was worrisome to us. But the good news is that this year we made more than 150 more offers this year than at the same time last year. And our recruiters are now back in the high schools and schools, which helps us to recruit more students now that COVID is over. At one point, my objective was to increase students by 1,000, and we've reached that target a little bit. We're actually a little bit above. We're expecting an increase in 4 or 5% in the number of students. Now, one of the factors that promotes that increase is the quality of teaching that's offered at the University of Moncton. So here are some findings of a survey that was done among first year students. It was conducted in 2022 by the uh, Consortium Canadien de Recherche, CCREU. So there were 10 questions or indicators, and the University of Moncton was above the Canadian average on many of them. So, so here are some of the positive feedback. Encourage students to participate in class discussions, and we are 14% above the result for Canada as a large. So, and 93% of students are satisfied or very satisfied with the quality of teaching, and 92% report that the university meets or exceeds their expectations. So we're in the right track. And so this shows the training of the quality that's offered at the University of Moncton. And we want to amplify that strategy and make sure that the university becomes the choice among all graduates, high school graduates in the province. And we want to go and get more students from outside the province, uh, specifically from Quebec and Ontario. Now, our student community is based, well, 55.9% of students come from New Brunswick. At the Moncton campus, we have 23%, but on the Shippagan and Edmonton campuses, the number of international students is much higher. It's closer to 50%. All right, this was a report that was done on the University of Moncton that showcases the integration of international students on our various campuses. All right, financially, the news is good, just as is the case for the city of Moncton. I was here last week. So there's a slight surplus of about $1 million for all three campuses. Now, there have been some deficits that were accumulated over the years, but now the Shippagan and Edmonton campuses have much higher numbers of students than they had in the past. So things should kind of stabilize over the next few years and we should be able to erase the accumulated deficit and even make slight surpluses. In this slide, we see the required investments to upgrade our university infrastructure. We're celebrating 60 years at the Moncton campus, and a number of buildings were built in the 70s, and now they require upgrading to be by code, or to meet code rather. So we're going to need about $114 million over the next 10 years to do that work. The provincial government gives us about $1 million a year. So we have to go and look for other funding and look for opportunities from provincial and federal governments to fill the gap. So this year we'll be spending about $10 million on upgrading. We're going to be renovating the theater facility, for example, on campus. And we want to make that facility available to the community as well. All right, so our focuses of research and development, Acadian studies in minority communities, health as well. We're hoping to create a health research institute that will combine Georges Dumont, Vitalité, and the university. So we should be able to make an announcement this fall. And we also have priority research niches, information and communication and technologies like artificial intelligence and robotics, and then optics and advanced materials. In terms of the city of Dieppe now, Here are your contributions, or contributions rather, which are greatly appreciated by the university and by our students, especially who have benefited both from bursaries and also from improvements to our infrastructure. So these are a pretty large infrastructure. We're talking about $1.3 million for. So the market value as of April 30th of our trust fund was about $607,000. Four students were able to receive scholarships for a total of $5,200. And that is enough to cover their tuition for the year. We also provide scholarship fund for the Aigle Bleu and the men and women's teams, and that gives two students bursaries for a total of $3,500. There was also a commitment to fund for the Center of Excellence in Acadian Studies. And if you ever go take a walk on the campus, you'll see, we invested $3.5 million in that facility. And so it's a very popular site for our students. And there's also an exhibition space and room. There's also an office space for our last two chancellors, and we have manuscripts from Antonine Maillet, and the office of Mr. Lévesque is also on exhibition. So now the whole Carrefour houses our Acadian archives, and with the investments, we were able to increase the digitization and the technology to preserve documents. So documents that are at risk of being affected by temperature, and it allows us to provide a much safer conservation or conservation service, so that if somebody wants to come do research on their ancestors, we have things for them. All right, I'm going to end with our three major projects. We have a residential expansion project at the Edmundston campus. For Moncton, we've submitted for funding to do a major renovation of the SEPs. And last year, we completed a $2 million renovation of student residence at the Shippagan campus. So upcoming projects, there's the operational plan, even if we've already started a number of these actions. I also mentioned the climate action plan, and we're doing also a lot of thinking about developing the campus and then providing, and we're thinking in terms of densifying the area, the campus area with affordable housing. And so that housing would be mixed. It would be open to the general population and for our students as well, those who have fewer resources. So the idea is to open up the doors of the university to the children and the teenagers of those families. And so we're seeing that as an aspiration for the university to support marginalized families. Thank you. Any questions from councillors? Councillor Lanting. Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Mr. Prudhomme, for your presentation. It was very interesting.
Une question,
So I have a question. I heard some rumors at some point that there was a new construction of the arena, Jean-Louis Dax. So is this true, first of all, and would it be part of the $127 million project with the test? So for the Jean-Louis Levac arena, it is coming towards the end of its life. And this structure, it consumes a lot of energy. So In the SEPS project, it will also include an ice surface, and this will free up the current arena infrastructure. So there are two projects or two ideas that have been proposed. One would be to recycle this arena and transform it in affordable housing units. So we made some designs to see what could be the possibility. We would have an inside zone that would be a community zone, and it could also serve as a place to offer community services. And another project would be to use the surface for other activities like tennis and so on. So sports and other activities. So that's another option that is being considered. So we're thinking about those two options. And what would be the timeline for those projects? For the SEPS project, for example? Well, it could take 3 years when we get the funding to put everything in place because the SEPS it includes the ice surface, but also a place for inside soccer and a new gym to free up the current gym so that the community can access it. And within the SEPS, there's also a clinic for seniors about their health and well-being, and it's also combined to a medical clinic. And we could also renew the pool because it's now currently at about 37 meters, and a pool should be at 50 meters. So we could bring it to that size. And we could also have a new track. So an interior track is supposed to be 200 meters. So it's not the right length currently. So we would create a 200 meters track. And we would also upgrade the facilities for fitness for students and the general population. So it would be a very important upgrade and modernization because we want it to be an access board to the community. So we want to organize sporting events on the campus. We want to promote the Université de Moncton, and we want for young students and younger people to make Université de Moncton their first choice. And we have a great arena in Moncton if ever you need to use it. So I just want to say so. Thank you. Thank you. So I'm not seeing any other people want to speak up on this. So thank you for talking about everything that is going on University de Moncton campus. Locally, we're more interested in what is going on in the Moncton area, but our colleagues from Enniston and Chipagan can also appreciate this update. So I want to thank you for all the development that you're working on. I'm convinced that it will be a great success, and we will be there when the time comes, as always. So on behalf of my colleagues from the Université de Moncton and all the students, we would like to thank you for your support. Thank you. So the third presentation, it's the Extenso Club for Rhythmic Gymnastics. My back hurts just when I say those words.
Elle me délaisse. Je l'avais apportée pour du support moral, mais
Well, I brought her for moral support. Good evening. And thank you for giving me this opportunity to talk about our great extended school club. I would like to introduce myself, José Leblanc. I'm the chair of the uh, for this club. And I would like to talk about our successes for the past year, also our goals for the next year, and a few challenges. Oh, she came closer. Liliane is one of our club members, so I wanted to bring her here. She's also the version 2.0 of me, so you might see a few and she might be on a few pictures as well. So we're going to start. So it's not the first time that I give a presentation to this committee. You might remember me. So I would like to talk about what is important, what we do. So now we're in Dieppe and we have a great building and we're able to create a partnership with a regional developer. So they wanted to build a building for us with our dimensions in mind because our criteria are quite complex. For example, the ceiling height. And now since 2006, been in depth. The sport existed before that, of course, but our club was created in 2006. So we're a not-for-profit organization. We have 8 coaches currently. So 2 coaches are full-time, so they dedicated themselves to our club and they developed their career for rhythmic gymnastics in New-Brunswick. So this is not and this is 100% supported by volunteer parents regarding the administration and activity management of the club. So it's quite a challenge. Also, we are a member of Gymnastics Canada, the association in New Brunswick, so we're able to take part in provincial and Canadian competitions. And we also offer different programs, for example, recreational programs, and we offer programs for young children as young as 3 years old, and then they can progress to more competitive programs. And what comes with this are competitions, and sometimes they have to travel within our province and also outside of the province. And for a few years now, we offer camp for high performing athletes, and it allows us to get to bigger competitions. And we didn't do this in the beginning. So, who are we? Our registrations increase every year. So we started with a club of about 20 athletes, and today we're so proud because we're at our max. We have 150 registrations, and most of those registrations are our little recreational gyms. And we can expose them to the sport and we give them some beginner concepts and then they can grow within the club. There's the level one, and then they can move levels to national uh, competitions. So, what is rhythmic gymnastics? And yes, your back can hurt because we spend a lot of time trying to prevent injuries. So it's an Olympic sport and it combines different things. So it requires physical strength and agility while remaining graceful. The routine combines dance, ballet, acrobatic movements such as jumps and balancing acts with manipulation of objects such as hoops, balls, and that's why they have great agility. Athletes perform the routine to music, and sometimes it goes with the theme of the music, and they wear great costumes, and every mom would like to have such a costume later on. And gymnasts can perform individually or in groups, and performances are test by a panel of judges. So that's another complexity of the sport. We use a very strict scoring code where emphasis is placed on technical mastery and artistic execution of the movements and interpretation of the music. Our mission and mandate, well, it's multifaceted. We want to help the youth of our region grow in the beautiful sport of gymnastics. We want to promote our sport, and we also offer gymnasts and even at recreational level many things that will serve them throughout their life. For example, they can learn the values of discipline and dedication, perseverance, and they can bring all those lessons to carry them throughout their life. A few successes from past year. Well, the pandemic is still on our slide because we're still rebuilding from the pandemic and it was difficult. We're rebuilding in the sense of our coaches and our volunteers. It is quite difficult. I don't think I'm the only one as an organizer that needs volunteers. People might need to know us about to know us more. We can pursue excellence in sport and in the achievement of goals. We were able to take part in Elite Canada and national championships. We have athletes and coaches who are leaving this week for the Canadian Championship, and it is quite the feat given our small size as a province and our small team of coaches, and we have no travel budget as well. So it's quite a significant challenge that they are facing. We were able to hold the first extensive cup this year, and it was in person. And one thing we're so proud of is that we organized the first Atlantic Championship with over 140 athletes. We were able to strike a partnership with the Université de Moncton. So they supported us. They provided us with the steps facility for that weekend. And we were able to reintroduce group performances following the pandemic. We still offer a sports psychology service. At the elite level, it's important for athletes to be well physically and mentally. It's a very rigorous sport and it always requires perfection. So it's good that we're able to provide assistance on that level. As well, we offer a local program. It's a sport study program in Dieppe. It was created a few years ago, and thanks to this support, our athletes were able to reach great levels. For example, the bus schedule that was provided, all of this is very important for us. And one of our chief coach was able to receive her certification as a judge, and that's the highest level of certification. So she can position herself to be able to judge at national competitions. Our goals for the following year, well, once again, it's to continue promoting the sport and our reputation. I thought 2022 was a great year, so I wanted to recreate it, to recreate it here, but it's for 2023. We want to continue to support athletes to regain their confidence and motivation, and with psychological assistance, it helps. And we want to provide opportunities for athletes to shine on both the regional and national stage through events. And we would like to make the sport more accessible to all. I believe that we can reach this goal by offering our recreational programs. It's once a week. So I don't think we're very far from reaching this goal. And as a not-for-profit organization, we want to increase our revenue because it's our only source of revenue aside from the grants that we receive, for example, one from the city of Dieppe. So we always want to increase our revenue. This year, we decided to organize some private fundraising activities. So we organize all types of events. It requires a lot of time, but it's the only way to succeed because we had many athletes traveling this year. So we really wanted to support and help those athletes. We also want to ensure the succession of athletes, coaches, and judges. With such a small pool of athletes in New-Brunswick, it's a significant challenge to have athletes like my daughter who wants to go on to become a coach and possibly become a judge. So that's a succession that we would like for our athletes. Our biggest challenges for 2023, I chose a few, but there are many. So financing and operating costs with the new building that we have, it certainly comes with a nice bill, but that's what we needed to keep going with our sports in Dieppe and keeping our fee low enough to allow access to the largest number of participants. And of course, with the cost of living increase and increase in wages for our coaches, that's we needed to increase our fees. Also training for the next generation, volunteer recruitment and retention. I'm not sure that we have a lot of uncertainty related to the pandemic, but it did create a lot of uncertainty. We had to ask ourselves some questions about how efficient we could be regarding our committees and procedures. And to resolve this issue, we decided to purchase a system so that we can better manage our registration. With 150 registrations every year, it's a lot of management for a volunteer club. So we decided to purchase a system to help with that management. And hosting large-scale events in appropriate venues, we are the biggest club in New Brunswick. So other clubs look to us and they want us to organize large-scale events. We're well served this year and we did it. So those clubs, they appreciated the experience so much that they want us to do it again. So we need to preserve the steps and it's not easy in the community because many sports want the steps facility and often it's difficult to have the dates that we want. And they are very expensive as well. So it's not simple for us. So in conclusion, Extenso would like to acknowledge the importance of the City of Dieppe support. All of those funds are used efficiently. We could probably not keep operating without your financial assistance. It allows us to do many things. For example, your support makes sports more accessible to people. We can reduce registration fees for people of all income levels. And we can continue to offer the children of our region the chance to develop through our beautiful sports. So that's my presentation. Thank you. Do you have any questions, council members? So no question. In this case, I would like to congratulate you for your excellent work. We know that challenges can rise with those types of sports, but also rewards for those who practice sports. So I would like to thank you for all that you do in the community. Thank you.
Prochain groupe pour présenter.
So our next group who will give a presentation is the Dieppe Tennis Club. And I believe that is Miss Dorina Saint-Ange with Jérémy. Good evening. Everyone going well tonight? Yes. Great. I also gave a presentation last year, so I'm not new. With me, I have Jérémy. We had our annual meeting in February. We elected the same board as last year, so I'm the chair of the tennis club and Jeremy is vice chair. We are six on our board of directors. The tennis club is accredited by the city of Dieppe. We are a not-for-profit organization. So we operate with grants from the federal and provincial government to be able to hire students over the summer months. And that's how we operate. And we are also looking for volunteers and also the membership from our members. So the mission and mandate of the club is to develop and promote the sport of tennis within the city. The club was created 30 years ago, and we celebrated our 30-year anniversary last summer. The mayor and Mr. Jean-Marc were there to eat some delicious hamburgers cooked by so our mandate is to manage the municipal facilities for the sport of tennis in an efficient and equitable manner in order to provide our members and citizens of Dieppe with a first-class service. Naturally, tennis can only be played during the summer months, and we are officially opening the court next Saturday. The courts were set up a few weeks ago so people can go play free until Saturday. And then starting on Saturday, members will need to pay to play. And we will also have employees. So we have a director of the club and three other employees. They are all students. So we have four employees in total. Our successes for the year 2022. So we had many successes over the past year. So our membership increased. So we had over 100 members at the end of the summer that paid for a membership to play for the whole summer. And we also increased the sale of daily passes. So those are members who come and they can pay a daily fee. And we also have a system of a card for 5 passes. So they buy that card, our and then every time they come, that card can be punched. Our clubhouse received a new roof, and this was thanks to the city of Dieppe, and would like to thank you. Some windows were replaced, our office was refurbished, and the patio was painted. Our website, because we are on Facebook and we also have a website, so this was improved, and now people can book a court time online and they can also pay their membership fees on our website. So there's a lot of information available for community members. And finally, last summer, we were able to organize youth tennis lessons, and they were offered during July and August at very affordable prices for families. So if I'm not mistaken, we had about 40 young people who took some classes during the summer. I think that the oldest were about 13 years old and the youngest were about 6. We organized a major tournament, the East Coast Hope Open, and this was in early July. And we attracted over some of the best tennis players in the Atlantic province, and we attracted over 40 tennis players in the open division. And this was a partnership with the Riverview and Moncton. Moncton welcomed the juniors, and Riverview welcomed the older adults. In September, as I mentioned earlier, the club celebrated its 30th anniversary. This was quite a success, and last summer we hired 4 employees, and some were subsidized by provincial and federal programs, the SEED program, and the other program was Young Canadians Working. And 2 of these employees took training and became certified tennis coaches. So it allowed us to offer tennis lessons for young people. They're usually certified by Tennis NB. And we also recruited new sponsors. If you go close to the tennis club, you will see that we have some banners on our fences. And we started installing them today. So those people pay an amount of money, whether it's companies or other sponsors, and we promote their business that way by posting a banner on our fences. So it's a significant source of income for us. Last year, I think that we had about 15 sponsors and we can announce their names on our websites and things like that. And now Jeremy will talk. Oh, I apologize. We have a few more. And our employees were so satisfied. They're mostly all coming back this summer. We just have one new employee, and even some showed some interest in the board of directors. And last summer, we created a system of partners because sometimes people complain they don't have regular partners and they're looking for a partner. So we created a system where people can put down their name and then they can get in touch with one another, and they can organize a play. And from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m., every Dieppe resident can come play on the tennis courts for free, and this is on Sunday. So, Jeremy, it's up to you now. Well, thank you for giving us the time to give this presentation. So we have many goals for 2023. So we would like to offer even more courses for younger people to have a better visibility. And we would like to offer courses to adults and teenagers just to learn the sport or even get better. There's no age to start tennis. So if you could have a better visibility, that would be a great thing. And also, we wanted to renovate or rebuild a patio, but that's already done. So I would like to thank the city of Dieppe. The patio looks great, and we can't wait to use it this summer. We would like to recruit even more sponsors and maintain the ones we already have. We're fortunate because the sponsors from last year all came back, but if we could increase it by a couple of sponsors, it would give good visibility to local businesses and more funds for the club so we can organize even more events. We would like to continue to increase membership. That will certainly be one of our goals, especially among youth and families, because if we increase the number of memberships, it could also help us with the sport, recruiting other daycares to use the field. So we had a daycare in front of the club, and they brought the kids to the club, and it was great to see. And we would also like to increase our social activities. Every Sunday morning, we organize a social activity for double, and we celebrated our 30th anniversary last year, but it would be great to organize even more social activities. Recruit new people to join the club's board of directors to build a succession. This is a small challenge, but it's not really a concern because people are interested in tennis. It would be great to have more people on our board of directors and maintain good relationships with the city of Dieppe. It's a goal. I believe that our relationship is already very good, but we just want to keep up those good relationships. In terms of our biggest challenges, well, we really just have one, and it's always the same, is to provide services to our members and the public without access to water and permanent restroom and showers. It's always difficult for the club to organize large-scale events. We try to find a solution, a fountain we put in the club to allow players to change if they come after work and whatnot. But, it would be great to have water. Yes.
Présentation. Merci à tout le monde de nous avoir écoutés. Ça nous fait plaisir d'être ici.
Thank you. That ends our presentation. Are there any questions from councillors now? No questions? All right, well, just a comment on my part. I congratulate you on your excellent work. I think the city has to do something about the washroom situation. I've heard from a few of your members talk and talk about the situation. And we want to, we're giving good quality to pickleball players. We should at least be able to give you a washroom or something like that. I think it's time. So we can't neglect tennis. It's a sport that a lot of people play, and so there has to be something for everyone. All right, thank you. Well, I just wanted to add to what Jérémy was saying. We do get an excellent service from your students. It's incredible. All I have to do is pick up the phone, and Jonathan or Charles, or I'm naming names like that, but they call me back immediately, and they come to the club, and they're very good at providing service. But our dream is to have good water service and good toilets, because if we have those services, we could take we could host tournaments. But right now we can't really. It's almost impossible. So thank you again for your invitation, and it's nice to see you again. Thank you. All right. Let's talk to the pickleball people. Let's hear them talk about their situation. Mr. Leblanc, good evening. Hello, everyone. Your worship, thank you for hosting us, and I'm accompanied by Evelyn Baudry, who is our secretary and the secretary on our board. I'm the president of the Dieppe Pickleball Club, and we're always happy to come and to talk about our plans for the year and about our challenges for the coming year. So first of all, thank you again to the city for the facilities that are going to be built by September. We're planning the management of those facilities right now, because if it starts in September, we'll probably be able to get 2 months of playing in, and we've been waiting this for this a long time, and also the people who've been playing pickleball in the region have been waiting for a facility, and there's not many of them in the Atlantic region. So we're very excited to see the facilities, and we've had good collaboration with the city staff, and there's good communication as well. They wanted to know what our needs were, what our opinions were on various parts of the project. So what is the mission of our club? It is to develop and organize pickleball in Dieppe for people of all ages. That's an important aspect. And I think with our facilities, we'll be able to achieve that mission much better. Our club, which are basically our ongoing objectives, it's to promote the sport in a safe and friendly environment, to give all members the opportunity to learn and improve their game, offer lessons and learning clinics, schedule free sessions, league games and tournaments. We want to encourage high standards of safe play. And pickleball has a certain code of conduct, and we really focus on that training as well. And we also want to promote social pickleball activities in the community. Our successes in 2022, very briefly. So when I sent the PowerPoint presentation, we were at 237 members, but I checked, and now we're past 240 members. And we haven't done a lot of promotion either. Now, luckily, some of our members who are outside of Dieppe come and see us in the winter, but in the summer, they'll be coming back as well, especially now that we'll have new courts. And this is the first year that we've offered membership for $10. Last year, we developed a strategic framework which focused on 7 actions to be carried out by 2025. And what's interesting is that each member of the board decided to take on some of the files. So our meetings, during our meetings, we spent a lot of time talking about the strategic framework. So the first focus was construction of permanent courts, but there was work done on the other objectives as well. We currently have an average of 45 to 50 players that play at the Monday and Wednesday evening sessions at the Antonin Maillet School. And last week I went, and we had 52 people playing. There are 6 courts, and our record is 69 people. That's a lot of people. We haven't set limits yet, and we don't intend to for now, but we'll see what happens next year. We're hoping to have inner courts and that are larger as well. And then add that is that we have 20 players at the Lou McNairon School on Friday night. And there's always about 15 to 20 people who show up. Now, an average of 20 people who come on Wednesday nights, come on Wednesday evenings at Lou McNairon School, and we introduce the sport. And then, so we initiate them to the sport, and then we kind of move them to a different court. And we don't promote anything. We did at the beginning, but we don't do anymore. But these sessions fill up. I just received some yesterday. So Wednesday, we should have about 10 or 15 people showing up to learn how to play pickleball. So what it means is that we have a total of approximately 1,400 participants between October 2022 and April 2023. We also had community partners, or we also had community partnerships, rather. We organized an outdoor and an indoor tournament. And we repeated what we did just before the pandemic. We had a collaboration with the regional committee of the Jeux de l'Acadie de Sud-Est, and they gave us the labors on sport. And these people are experts in sport, so even if they don't know much about pickleball, they have a lot of expertise in the organization of sport. So our objective was 100 players, and we reached 92 players, which is good. Usually tournaments take place over two days, but we decided not to do a double mixed. But there were people from the southeast, the Acadian Peninsula, the Chaleur region, PEI, and players of a good level. So it was a very popular event, and we did that at the Antonin Maillet School, and it was a perfect facility for that type of tournament because we have access to 2 gyms. But all of the money was that was paid for registration was given to the Comité Régional. And so we had a total of 2,810, and we agreed to pay for the referees at the end. And one of the referees handed me back the money that we were paying him. It was $30. He gave it right back to me. And the other referee was an Anglophone from Riverview. He didn't say anything, but the next day he sent me $50. He felt bad, so he gave a donation as well. So we were able to give $2,800 to that committee. We also donated rackets and balls to the Antonin Maillet School, and we're starting to see pick up in the phys ed classes. I'm there in the red jersey, and so I was giving rackets and balls to the phys ed teacher. I was very happy to do that. And in September of last year, under the initiative of one of our members, Marcel Degre, we organized a team for the Everest Challenge to fight myeloma, and we were able to give them about $2,900. And then we organized a a pizza evening as well. And there were 40 of us that showed just before the pickleball. And then the photo that you see it was taken at Antonin Maya School. Our objectives for 2023 is to launch the summer season at Mathieu Martin. So we have a meeting this week, and we're going to finalize everything, the number of evenings and how everything is going to operate, but it'll be similar to what was done last year. I know that we will have that people play that. Managing the new outdoor courts. So what that means is, well, Evelyn is responsible for that file, but we want to go see what's being done elsewhere with outdoor courts. How are those managed? Are there free periods? What are the proportions? So with the internet, it's easier to get that type of information. And we have people who went to Florida this winter, and we asked them to observe how this was managed in the South. So we have lots of ideas, and at one point we'll be able to propose something probably for September, and we'll try it, and then we'll see if we can apply it next year. We have a management agreement with the city, and we're hoping to things are going well, so we're hoping to re-sign again. We're going to continue to introduce other players to pickleball, including youth. Now, I saw Riverview was raising the age from 18 to 19 but we want to do the opposite. We want to reduce the age to encourage young people. And we have ideas, but again, it's a question of indoor courts. And I heard, people from the tennis club, they're talking about a daycare that's just, so that could be an option that's interesting for the summertime to increase, activities of those young people. And then we want to prepare for the fall 2023 indoor season with more courts. So our biggest challenges for 2023 for the coming year is to successfully open the new outdoor courts in late summer 2023. These are courts that belong to the city, so we'll be working with you. But we definitely want people to play pickleball, even if the official opening is in the fall or next year. But we want to initiate the greatest number of people possible, invite them to come and try the outdoor courts. We want to continue to recruit volunteers to offer our activities. And that's an ongoing challenge, not necessarily for the board, but people who looking after the sessions in the schools or training, those are volunteers. And with a growing number of what we're going to soon have 6 indoor and 6 outdoor courts, we're going to have to increase the number of sessions. We've had 3 last year, but Thursday we'll be talking about seeing if we can go to 4 courts so that we can divide the number of people. So imagine, some evenings we could have up to 60, 70 people show up. Last year we had 50, 60 people behind Derrière Martin. The weather was good. People wanted to get out. So we're going to try to recruit more volunteers so that they can do that work. And then our last challenge, which I've already kind of touched on, is to find new sites for the indoor season. So we're in discussion with the city, but we're also talking with certain schools, and we're waiting to talk to the school district as well to see what's possible. So we've got one school, Leo McTerran, with the Francophone division, but our dream would be to have the 2 gymnasiums of the Antonin and Le Marais schools. That would be perfect. But if that doesn't pan out, well, then we'll look to finding other schools, because there's a new private club in the city next to us, but not everybody wants to go there. Some people want to play once a week, 2 times a month, once a month, and we have to accommodate those people with the new and it's with the new courts that we'll be able to do that. All right, well, that's basically what I had to tell you, and what we were asked. I don't know if you have any questions from councillors. Councillor Turgeon-Roy. Thank you, Marc. I'm just curious. You have an association with the Jeux de l'Acadie or the Acadie Games. Uh, were there discussions about it being a demonstration sport? Well, we sent a letter to the city, and we hope to have to be able to do a demonstration. But I think the city already made the request for it to be a demonstration sport. But you know, we're still going to be there to offer pickleball sessions because people will be there and they want to have fun. All right, someone else? Yes, we did get the Luc Richard. We did receive the letter, and we're going to look into seeing whether it's possible to make it a demonstration sport. We did it we've done it in the past with disc golf. So we're looking at possibilities. All right, thank you. Anyone else? Any other counselors? Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for your commitment.
Alors, nos prochains intervenants.
All right, our next speakers now are from the Dieppe Ringette Association. It was a big year, and another big year is coming next year. All right. So I would ask you to just tell us your names before you start your presentation, and welcome. Welcome. Hello, dear your worship and dear counselors, dear citizens. We're very happy to be here today to talk about the Dieppe Ringette Association, to talk about who we are and what we accomplished in the year and what we hope to accomplish in the coming year. My name is Jean-François Haché. I'm the new president of the association since last Tuesday. We held our AGM, so congratulations. And my colleague Vicky Deveau, who is the outgoing president of the association. She was president for 2 years, and she was there for about I guess 6 or 7 years at least. So I'm the new guy. So I'm going to let Vicky do most of the presentation. But just to start out, for those who are less familiar with ringette, ringette is a Canadian sport, and I guess I should start the presentation here. And it's already 90 years old. It started in North Bay, Ontario. The sport was developed for young girls to try to get a non-contact ice sport. And we wanted the idea was to build team spirit and get them passing the puck. And they wanted a game that was on skates, similar to hockey, with a rubber ring and with a stick as well. So if you want more information on the beginnings and the mission, just go to our website. So the Dieppe Association was founded in 1990. So we've been around for about more than 30 years. And the association has provided hundreds of young athletes with an opportunity to play ringette. The association's mission is to provide a safe and fun environment that promotes skill development, respect, friendship, fair play, and a love of the game for all participants, members, and volunteers. Our outgoing board of directors from last year is listed on the screen here. I'm not going to go through every name, but we had there were about 17 people on the board. And this year we have about 20 people. So we went and got a lot of new members. And I think half of the new council will be new members. So it's great to see that there's a lot of a good succession. All right. And in terms of the new members that are arriving, what we're seeing is, moms coming who played as young girls. Now they're on the board. So we recruited a lot of those people, and it's great to see. It's great to see that people coming back. So in terms of success stories for the last year, we had 183 athletes, and we are currently the second largest ringette association in the province. Fredericton is bigger. And when I say 183 athletes, we have ringette players that are not included in that figure, and those are high performing players, and they're on other New Brunswick teams that participated in the Canada Games. And it's impressive to see the young people from the Dieppe region performing at that level. So in total, we have 217 players. And at the Canadian Championships, and I think Lise Levoutier mentioned it at one of your recent meetings, there were 8 athletes who won the Canadian Championships at the U6WA, and that was 50% of the team. So 50% of that team was from Dieppe. So it's quite impressive. And we had 8 athletes as well that were playing on the Canada Games team as well. So it's great to see. All right, so we had 12 teams this year, plus one new thing, what we call Fun One group. And the Fun One group is a level for children 4 to 5 years old. So it's just an introduction. It's about learning how to skate and to make friends. And then after 2 years of COVID, we were able to hold our 37th edition of the Dieppe Riverview Tournament. So that was our first edition with the new Uniplex complex. It was a great success. We had 91 teams who participated. And we get feedback from people outside. So it's more or less people from New Brunswick, PEI, and Nova Scotia, but people from the outside come back to our tournament. They love it. And we're happy to be able to continue to offer the tournament every year. And that's in partnership with the Riverview Association. We also have a good representation at the provincial tournament, which is taking place in Moncton this year. A number of teams made it to the semifinals, but we didn't win any finals this year. But actually one when we did. But there was good participation and representation of our athletes. And as most of the associations that are presented today, that presented today, we are made up of volunteers. So we have 52 volunteers that, coaches, assistants, on-ice helpers, and managers of the various teams. So we've got a lot of community support, and our volunteers include athletes as well. So a wide range of ages. Our biggest challenges for the upcoming season, Ringette Canada asked us to introduce a new registration platform and to help them with their data management. So it's a Canadian company. Jean-Francois did a lot of work with that company, but there were a lot of growing pains with the platform. And that platform was also the point. One of the other objectives was to help us manage the schedule for the teams. We lost a few members with a lot of experience at the provincial level. I talked about high performance athletes, but athletes who are not necessarily playing with our association, but who are still playing. Those players no longer play with the association, but by default, a lot of people that have been involved for a long time, it's those girls who go on to play in those other teams. So we lose a lot of experience and resources when those people go and play in other teams. Last year we had a number of unfilled, or we had a few unfilled vacancies that we were never able to fill on the committee. And there was a bit of fluctuation. There were people came in and left, but we still had one position that wasn't filled, and that was the communications coordinator. So we had to split the work among us. Ice time management is also a big challenge for volunteers. It's a big file. And, like other ice sports, we're limited in, the amount of time that we can get. So we were lucky. Most of our ice sheets are at the Uniplex, but it's also up. The Uniplex is also a hub, for our if there were last minute changes between, we were usually the ones who had to make the changes, or to accommodate the changes rather. But I have to say that the people that we deal with, the city staff, have always been good at helping us find a solution, but it's always a challenge. All right. Now for 2023, 2024, and I apologize that the challenges that I talked about on the previous slide were for the past season, but for this season, what we see here is the logo for the Canadian Championships that will be taking place in April 2024. And I'm going to start talking about it right now because it's an exciting project, but so work is well underway. We started last year by setting up a committee, and we have a number of subcommittees that are already working hard. Now, I think one of the challenges that we might be able to anticipate is having volunteers to be able to provide this large scale event. But it's also excited, and I see that Lise Woutier is there. I'm going to wait for your questions, but now in terms of our objectives, like many other sports, we need to continue to promote ringette. Ringette is not a super well-known sport, so we continue to devote time to that. Player development as well. We know that we have a good pool of ringette players. We want to continue to develop them, and we want them to continue to perform, and we want to give them opportunities nationally and internationally. So we want to make sure that our young people are well coached, so that they can go on if they want. And then we have the 38th edition of the tournament that we hope to be able to organize next year. And so that's our main objectives for the 2023-24 session.
Question de la part des membres du conseil.
Any questions from council members? Miss Melissa? Yes, thank you, Your Worship. Are there any challenges with the national championship to come? And what role could the city play to facilitate the organization of this event? So we had a smaller scale tournament. We had the Eastern Canada Championship that were organized a few months ago, and this was a sort of trial to see what were our challenges, what we needed to work on, and we will need to work with the city on parking to try to find a solution to accommodate people for our opening ceremony and also during the games. We hope that we will be able to attract a lot of people, and parking was always something. Our event is going to last 1 week, so the community college is not going be available during the week, and the biggest games will be held on Saturday. But there are still many games that will happen over the week. I think that over the week it will be fine, but to have a good plan to get ready, that would be great. One thing that we had a hard time with because we couldn't offer it in Dieppe is to find a room big enough to host our events. The closing ceremony, for example. So we need a room that will accommodate between 2,000 to 3,000 people. It's not something we could find in Dieppe, so we have a partnership with the Université de Moncton to organize it. And even our opening ceremony, we're going to try to organize it on the Uni surface at the Uniplex, but we're going to work with the city to try to get to something that will be logical to for all of those athletes that will be there. Well, thank you,
Madame Le Boutillier.
Mr. Boutillier. Well, thank you for your presentation. Thank you for your volunteers. So my question, well, Melissa already asked it.
Ah, ça. OK.
Inaudible. And we will be there to support you. Good luck.
Quelqu'un d'autre du conseil?
Anyone else from the council?
Une lumière d'allumée tantôt.
I think I saw
OK.
a light earlier,
Alors,
but I don't see it
pas
anymore.
d'autres intervenants.
So I don't see anyone else who wants to speak up. So first off, congratulations for all that you already accomplished in the past and what's to come. I had the opportunity to take part
Du tournoi de l'Est du Canada,
in the
essentiellement.
launching of the event for Eastern Canada. So it was about half of what we're expecting, or maybe a bit less than half.
Événement pour
So it was a significant event for the community,
il y aura des défis, comme vous l'avez déjà mentionné, puis
and there will certainly be challenges, as you
nos
mentioned.
autres
So we're
intervenants
going to have to work with our
pour accommoder
other stakeholders to accommodate all of those great people that you will bring to us.
comme communauté
You know, sometimes we complain as a community that we need to get to our neighbors to do this or that, but you know, if you want to punch above your weight, you need to act like this. So that being said, I trust your team. I wish you the best of luck, and I'm convinced that the administration will help you as much as possible.
les idées commencent déjà à voyager.
I already see that some ideas are probably being considered, so thank you for your great work. Have a good evening.
Bon, notre prochain intervenant, on va parler des chiffres.
Encore une
Alors,
fois.
So we will talk about numbers, the financial results from the first quarter.
Ouais, justement.
Monsieur Thériault, bonsoir.
Mr. Thériault,
C'est à côté, justement, ma fille fait partie du programme HP.
so my daughter is part of the program that she was talking about earlier. It seems that we saw each other not so long ago, so welcome everyone. So the last time that we met, it was to talk about the financial results of 2022 and what happened, but this time it's to give you an overview of what 2023 will look like. So we're going to talk about the first 3 months. It's a small sample, so there will certainly be some differences or some gaps, and it might be related to timing more than anything else. But what I'm trying to do here is to compare the real numbers with the budget, and for the budget, I'm trying to determine when the expenditures will occur. So an example, the payment for the debt. Most payments for the debt, 90% of the time they happen in November, December. 10% of the time it's about May, June. So this is a significant expenditure. For the moment, it will be $0. I'm budgeting $0. But come the month of June, we're going to have a little bit more, and in December, it will be about 90%. So we're going to start off with this. So we can see the first column, $71 million for revenues, and out of this $71 million for the budget to date, or what I'm expecting to see is $17.84 million, and we have $18.48 million. And now for expenses, I was expecting to see $11.73 million, and instead I saw $10.55 million. So these are savings of $1.18 million. So we $1.18 million. So now I'm going to go more into detail. So the first two lines here, so we're talking about $66 million for the budget, property tax, and the money that we receive from funding New Brunswick. Budget to date versus the budget, well, it's the same thing. It's a payment that we receive every month. So I just took the $66 million, I divided it by 12, and it gives the same amount. So there's no surplus, there's no deficit. So in terms of the other sources of income, I have a budget of $5.1 million, but so far I have $1.3 million, and the real numbers is closer to $2 million. So it's about $46,000 difference. So here we're talking about many of our non-fiscal income. For example, the arena. So here there's a positive difference. And I also have a positive difference in terms of the aquatic center of $100,000. So we need to admit that the way that I spread out the income that we budgeted for those two items, the pool and the arena, I divided it like last year. However, by doing so, I made a little mistake. Last year was not a normal year. The first part of the year, we still had COVID and lockdown. So it created a positive gap, but it's still $200,000 more compared to last year. And now we have the construction permits. So we have a budget of $500,000, so $125,000 for the first trimester divided by 4, and instead I projected $400,000 of income for construction permits. So that's a great difference of about $250,000. So there are still some smaller amounts. For example, we received or we purchased a bridge for the Rotary Park for cyclists. So the cyclists committed to $20,000 to this, and I didn't budget for that. And also, we commissioned a study on parking with Expansion Dieppe, and they reimbursed us $15,000. So I didn't budget for that source of income. So it's all smaller amounts that add up. So it brings us to a great positive difference. And now, in terms of expenditures, the first line is for salary. So far, I was expecting to see 3.31, so there is a positive difference here, and it's practically the same explanations that I provided to you last week. We have many vacant positions or positions that have not been filled yet. The new positions that were accepted while they were not filled yet. So it can create some surplus. But there's also the fact that the budget is based on the salaries from 2023. And the negotiations are still not over. So this creates a positive gap. but it's temporary. So as soon as the negotiations or the bargaining period ends, then the gap should be closed. In terms of external commissions, we can see a small deficit here of $30,000. So there are two things here that can be taken into account. The payment to expansion Dieppe, well, we paid two payments. So we paid the equivalent of half a year in the first quarter. So this means that we spent $250,000 more than the budget. But this will be raised over the year. The gap, I mean, and the second thing is that usually we would pay the capital in the beginning of the year, but then I noticed that I should have spread out the budget a bit more. So we paid them out in June and in September. So it created a positive difference for now, but once again, it's a question of timing. For the other expenses, so we're respecting the target, except for the last one, other expenses. So we were planning for around $3.71 million in terms of wages. So we have a $545,000 of a positive difference. So again, it's a question of timing. I really focus on the most significant expenses. So for the smaller expenses, they can be spread out over 12 months. But when I do this, it can also mean at that point that there are some expenses that occur during the summer months and not in the beginning of the year. For example, for leisure activities and communication. And because of this, I budgeted more expenses than the real numbers. But once again, it's a question of timing. And it should balance out over the year. And the gap should be reduced. So this is my presentation for the general operating budget. But one thing that I would like to add is that we can see that there are some good positive differences in terms of revenue and the income. We're still early in the year, but we need to think about what are we going to do with those surplus if it really happens. One of my goals is about borrowing. So we were able to refinance our borrowing costs, and for the operating budget, it was $1.65 million. So it's about $2.4 million that can be refinanced. And you know what? If we have those surplus, it could be a great option to just pay for it. And the interest rates are quite high right now, so it would have a positive impact on our debt levels. So that's one thing I'm looking at. Do you have any questions at this point about the general operating budget?
Merci. En essayant d'interpréter, on a fait une dépense cette année qui était peut-être
So we had an expense this year that was quite extraordinary with the purchasing of a land. So how would it be reflected in the numbers that you're introducing? So this is not for the general operating budget. It's for okay, so do you have any other questions? So we'll keep going. So now for water and sewer, we had an annual revenue of almost $15 million. The revenues for now, it shows a surplus, and the expenses are $190,000. So it's about $310,000 for the first trimester or the first quarter. So now I'm going to give you more details. So this is about the water and sewer rate. So the income that is derived by the water and sewer rate. The $140,000, as I explained last week, I had budgeted a unity amount that we were going to sell over the years. So a unity amount, so one unit equals one house, or one unit, it equals 240 cubic meters. for those companies who have a water counter. So there is a positive difference on both sides. So for fixed rate units and also have a variable rate. And it creates this positive gap. And this positive difference should keep growing over the year. And as I said earlier, this could help us refinance the $750,000 that is due. In terms of other sources of revenue, we can see a little deficit of $20,000. It's not very alarming. So we know what's going on in terms of the revenue. It's a number of units and it was underassessed. The number of new constructions that we have at the city of Dieppe, but we can see this in the real numbers. And now, in terms of expense, the wages, well, it's the same explanations that I gave earlier. So it's the vacant positions, among other things. And now for external commissions, we can see that we had a budget of $91,000 or $910,000, and now we have $890,000. So it's a small surplus of about $10,000. So here we're talking about purchasing water. I had spread out the amount over 12 months, but in reality, for the first quarter, we used a little bit less than in the summertime. So maybe we will be a little bit in a negative for what I can see so far, because the water consumption in Mountain had increased by 4%, and I had estimated 2%. So we might have a smaller deficit by the end of the year if this trend is ongoing. In terms of operating and minute, we can see a small surplus of about $50,000. This is also a question of timing. So we will see over the year what's going to happen. And for the other expense, there's the operating cap, debt service, and other expenses. Everything is on par. So we're reaching the target here. Your worship, this ends my presentation. Thank you. Are there any questions following the second part of this presentation? So no question from councilors or council members? Any questions? Everything is great? Well, I hope that everyone will have a great evening. Thank you.